since we record the sessions for folks who couldn't make it, I'm going to go through the whole presentation piece. So here we go. So thanks for joining us today. My name is Amber Neer. I'm the advisor for adult learners and Worry Way Back students here at Wayne State. This is part of our Tuesday Talk series. We have one nearly every Tuesday throughout the semester. Our sessions are geared towards adult learners, so that's returning students, Worry Way Back students, transfer students, folks who are doing the Phoenix Reentry program, which is the GPA forgiveness program. We also target justice impacted, military affiliated, and first generation students. So a lot of different populations fit into this adult learner lens, and we are here to support all of them. So the first thing we're going to do, some quick introductions of me and the rest of our team. They're not all here today, but I do want to give them a shout out. Then I'll pass it over to Daisy for the financial aid piece. And we'll do a quick wrap up with some next steps as well. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat or just interrupt us. That's fine too. So like I said, my name is Amber Neer. I'm the advisor for the Worry Way Back program. I have a colleague named Chloe Lundeen. She's our adult learner liaison and peer mentor. So she's the first point of contact for a lot of students. So you'll likely be hearing from her. She does a lot of like the social engagement things as well. We also have a vacant spot for, we're going to be hiring soon another adult learner advisor. And James Hearn is our adult learner career coach. So if you have any questions about career transitions, resume building, interview skills, things like that, James is an excellent point of contact. And today our guest presenter is Daisy Cordero. Most folks who identify as adult learners have heard from Daisy at some point or another. If you haven't already, you will soon, I'm sure. She's just a great resource to have. So thanks for joining us today, Daisy. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you. Let's see if I can stop sharing here. Do you have your presentation?
I sent it to you. It's the same. Yeah. I rely on you on this one. I mean, I have it if you.
I can find it.
Okay. But meanwhile, Eric, thank you for joining us. You have our rapt attention because you're the only one here with us. So if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. I've got some new material I want to discuss real quickly. We'll have a conversation. I'll do my little thing with the slideshow, and then Amber will give me a little bit of time to talk about the new administration student debt relief plan. And I'm going to drop a couple of websites on our chat so that you will have that. And I have to tell you that I was just telling Amber, my philosophy has truly changed from kind of holding hands, and we're still supporting all of our students, particularly the adult learner. But my objective now is to empower all of you with so much information that you're able to fly solo. All right. And then, of course, we're always here to support you. But it's so important for the students to feel that they're empowered and that they know what they know, so that they are not, no one can pull the wool over their eyes, give them stories or information that, or suppositions that are not true. I can't stand it anymore. There's so much out there that's not true, Eric. And that's what we have to watch. Okay. We're going to do, I was talking to Amber also about a scholarship presentation that we do every year. And I've got some really good information because I've been updating that presentation, and we'll share that at that time. But what my objective now, and I'm going for the jugular here, it's to empower you, period. So that you know what this is about. This is not a secret. We don't get into a basement, dark, smoke-filled room and say, oh, well, today we're going to do something about financial aid that we don't want anybody to know. That's not what we do. We want everybody to feel comfortable and, to feel that they know what they need to do until graduation. Okay. So this evening, we're talking about your financial aid and beyond graduation, tying it all together for the adult learner. And that's why this information about the debt relief plan is really important. So let's begin the party. All right. All right, look, all these talking points are important, Eric. All right. So some of the most important ones, of course, are loan limits. You need to know what your loan limits are. Okay, and maybe you do. If you know this information, bear with me, but repetition is the mother of retention. So it's okay to hear it again and again. The loan eligibility is important. Repayment options once you graduate and you have those loans is important. Loan consolidation, forbearance, and there's a difference among these three: loan consolidation, forbearance, loan forgiveness. Okay, and it's important for you to know what these are. You don't have to memorize any of this. If you know just a little bit about everything, it's like a Frankenstein approach, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you'll have something. Okay, I just want you and all the adult learners to feel comfortable about, their financial aid and being at Wayne State. But we're here to support you, and you know that. I don't have to beat that dead horse. We're here to support you. Amber has a wonderful team that is really an amazing support mechanism also. There's some key takeaways, and then we'll have a Q&A. Okay? All right. So, and everybody knows that college is truly an investment. Even if we get, as we call it, a basket weaving degree, whatever that may be, it's not really a basket weaving degree, because with that diploma, we can do a lot. But you have invested not only money, but time that you'll never get back. Okay. So how do you get your time back when you have it? You just expand it, work it, grow in it. So it's truly an investment. It never stops. You never stop learning, because human beings never really stop learning. So it's really an investment. And then the money, forget it. 60, 70, $100,000 sometimes if you go get a master's degree. So it's truly an investment that continues to grow. It's like a little rabbit that has babies all the time. This is what we're talking about here. So every year, of course, you're going to file the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, October 1st. It is imperative that you file this form October 1st and apply for private scholarships at the same time. Once you file the FAFSA, you just don't file it and forget it. Sometime in February, you would have received an email from the Department of Education telling you that this information is being sent to our office. Call us, start dialing like at 8:30, 8:45, so that you don't have to wait too long on, waiting for somebody to answer the phone. And then ask, is my financial aid or the FAFSA, do you have it? Yes. Is there anything you need from me? Nope. Is there anything? Yes, we need this and this. You make a note and you make sure that that information is emailed to documents@wayne.edu. You keep a record of when you emailed it, and you keep, of course, the originals. If by any chance it's April or May and you have not heard from our office and you do not have a financial aid award letter, there's something wrong. Of course, we don't have hard copies for only first-year students. Everybody else gets an email from us with the award letter. But if you have nothing by April or May, you need to contact us and be relentless until we say to you, okay, Eric, Terrell, we have your information here and you're fully awarded. Or Eric, Terrell, we have stuff missing. Well, what is it that you're missing? Well, they're going to say to you, we send you an email 2 or 3 weeks ago. Can you open up that email and read and see? And also via Academica, through the student portal, you're going to see what is missing. That is owning you have to own this process. Once we tell you that, you never have to call us again. Okay? Unless we have made a mistake, which sometimes we do, okay? because we're dealing with a lot of students and a lot of numbers. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation to you as to why sometimes we make mistakes. Then you come back and you call us again and say, hey, you guys took my award away. What happened here? But if you have your award letter and you're ready to roll and you're great, your grades are good, your GPA is in order, you should have no reason to speak to anyone in financial, because you own this. Just like, you own that university, because it's a public university. Your tax dollars are paying for that. So you should be able to, at a click of a key or a mouse, you should be able to get all the information you need. However, if you're not satisfied and you're missing information, please call the Student Service Center, and anyone there can help. If you're not satisfied, you can tell the representative, you know what, thank you for your help, but can you please send a case to a financial aid administrator? And we're on it immediately. That's the process. So keywords: Student Service Center, Financial Aid Administrator. Those are the keywords, okay? The FAFSA will, of course, determine how much you're going to receive from the Department of Education. There are a couple of players here. The most important players are you, the university, and the Department of Education with the FAFSA. Timing is of the essence. If you snooze, you lose. Please pay attention to this, to any request we make in our office, because it's really important that we comply and you comply. Otherwise, we can't do our jobs. And then the grants and scholarships, those are loans that you receive via the FAFSA, and those have to be repaid. And we also have a big presentation about loans and things like that, which we will do sometime during the semesters coming up. Of course, we encourage all of you to practice smart borrowing, right? Accept what you need, or if you accept the entire amount of your loan, which for an adult, if you have eligibility, will be $12,500 per academic year. If it's too much, save it. And if you want to attend spring, summer, fantastic. You should know how much money you have borrowed. Well, how do you know that? Going to studentloans.gov, and I'll put all of this in the chat later, and you can look at the national database to see exactly how much you owe, or you can email me and I'll be happy to tell you, because I can tell you in 2 minutes. But it's good for you to know the source of where all of your loans, including interest, all of that is housed. It's important for you to know that, own it, because these are your loans. Okay, no surprises. We don't want you to be shocked or surprised. Oh, I didn't know. That's not what we're here to do. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. All right, next, please. The annual and aggregate loan limits. All right, so for a freshman independent student, which most of the adult learners are, it'll be $9,500, okay? For the sophomore, $10,500, juniors and seniors, $12,500. That's the yearly limit. The lifetime limit is $57,500. And you know that if you have borrowed $57,500, you will not have additional eligibility. And how do I know that? Well, you go to the national database and you'll know whether you have borrowed all of the annual eligibility. And that will include your Pell Grant also. Okay. And if you have borrowed all of this money, that means that we're going to have to think about how you're going to make payments to your tuition and fees. There are many, many ways. We have payment plans. We have alternative loans based on your credit. And then there are some of you who may have employers who may pay for your tuition and fees, through your jobs. So there are ways to skin this cat. We just don't know, how until we have a conversation. Terrell, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Hello. My
Hello.
question is annual and aggregate loan limits for undergraduate.
57,500.
Okay, thank you. Is that applicable? Excuse me, I apologize for asking it that way. Is there any loan limits for graduate students?
138,500, including the 57.5.
Okay, so you got
Yes.
basically an additional almost 80,000.
Oh yeah, 83, I believe. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Next, please. So, how do you check my eligibility? There it is, the national database. There's the website. Please make sure you have this website ready and use it. I would check this website every single semester after your loan's paid. They make mistakes, and so do we. Okay? Own it. Please, please, please check your eligibility every semester. You're going to do three things. You're going to check your email religiously. You're going to become real religious. You're going to check your email religiously. You're going to check Academica religiously, and you're going to check this national database religiously once a semester. It's important that you do that. Okay? You're going to be able to check all these things: financial aid review, enrollment, subsidized usage, meaning that if you have eligibility for the subsidized loan, the 23,000, which is the subsidized maximum, see how much you have left. Okay. Your contact information, sometimes your phone numbers and emails are not correct, and you need to have the correct contact information to the Department of Education. They will find us. Those people look under stones and rocks to find people who have loans and stuff. So just make sure they have the correct information. You have nothing to hide. When you graduate, yay, we'll celebrate. You will be sent an email from our office, a love note that says you have to complete exit loan counseling. You have to start paying your loans. 6 months after you graduate, that's when you start paying the loans, but you have to complete the exit loan counseling requirement upon you. When you're done, you're done with all of your classes. And please also check with your academic advisors, do a graduation exit or graduation audit to make sure that you have taken all the classes that you need before you do exit counseling. Once you do exit counseling, they'll cut you at the knee and say, okay, you got it on this date, 6 months from now, you're going to start paying. But oh, wait, I've got one more class. But remember that, as you know, if you drop below 6 credits at any time during your education journey, you're going to get an email from our office saying you have to complete exit loan counseling. So this is what happens. Some of us do the fall. There are family situations for the winter, and we just don't come back. For the spring, summer, or the fall of the following year, if it's more than 6 months, you're going to get an email from us. You have to do the exit loan counseling because you were out all those months. However, if you get this exit loan counseling and you're enrolled, I'll waive it. Now for that, you can either call the Student Service Center and tell them, you know what, I'm enrolled. Can you please tell those lovely financial aid administrators to waive my requirement? Because that is the most annoying thing on your financial aid account. It's every week you'll get exit loan, exit loan. And all we want, you know what we're doing? We're complying with the federal regulation. We have to. So I know it's pesky and it's a pain in the neck, but we're doing it because we're forced to do it, not because we're nasty people. So just say, I'm here, I'm cool, I'm enrolled 6 credits. So can you please waive that? And then we'll waive it, put a note on your account. Student is enrolled 6 credits, no need to complete exit loan counseling at this time. There are also frequently asked questions on this website, and then you can contact the Department of Education through this website. So this is a really nice tool, okay? Terrell?
Yes, I have a question regarding, I apologize for coming in late, and I apologize if you've already answered this.
Oh,
I
no,
have a question.
please.
I have a potential student, I should say. I have a potential student that's interested at Wayne State, and he's trying to acquire private loans, not under the federal government loans like the subsidized and unsubsidized,
Mhm.
but he's trying to do so and basically
Uh-oh. Did we lose Tara?
take care of himself as well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I lost you there between he's trying to secure some private loans and there was a silence there, and then you said to take care of himself. What was there? There was a blank there. A pause. What?
He wants to use those private loans
Mm-hmm.
for household stability of himself. But I am unable to inform him because I do not know is a time frame for that with registration purposes.
Okay. First of all, is this student, let me ask you a couple of questions. Is this student eligible for the federal loans? That's number one.
To my understanding, yes. He has,
Okay.
to my understanding, he has Pell Grant eligibility. I don't know how much that is. And
does he have federal loan eligibility though?
That I don't know yet.
Because many times students are asking for private loans whose interests are very high because they're not eligible to receive the federal loans. They've reached their 57.5. So what I would ask this student, Terrell, is, did you file the FAFSA? Of course they did if they have Pell eligibility. Are you eligible to receive the federal direct loans? Depending on what the student says, if he says yes, then okay, so you want to borrow the private loans in order to secure housing and all that stuff. Tell him that the private loans are expensive and they're based on his credit, okay? And that, God forbid, if something occurs, the banks and credit unions, many of them, but not all of them, do not forgive private loans. We call them alternative loans. And on finaid.wayne.edu, I'll put that on the chat in a minute. We have a page that is dedicated exclusively to alternative loans. We cannot push one bank or one credit union against the other, but there's a ton of information there. We don't recommend these loans unless the student is graduating quickly, because it's a bad habit in a way, because then you end up with 57.5 and 30,000 in private loans. That's a lot of debt. So we have to be very cautious what we tell the student. This is why it's so important to equip the student with a ton of information. So if they don't even have to be a Wayne State student. If they go to our website, they can even go wayne.edu, alternative loans on the search engine there, and it'll pop up with that beautiful page with a ton of information. If the student wants to go that route, that's okay, but they have read, and if they want to call us and discuss it, we'll be happy to explain things to them. And if they still want to go that route, it's okay, but at least they have all the information they need in order to borrow those loans. Did I answer your question? Was I helpful? Did we lose him?
Yeah, he texted me. He lost reception, but we're recording, so I told him I'd send him the recording later.
Wonderful, wonderful. That was a really good question. All right. So don't forget, this is a really crucial link. Please use it. So it's read your emails, check Academica once per semester. Of course, you're going to check with your academic advisor to make sure everything is on point. And if you're graduating, that's even more important. Make sure you've covered all of your bases, and always check the national database. Own it, because that is your life. Please own it. And, you know, if you call me or call anybody else and they say, oh no, you owe 30,000, and you go to the national database and it's 57,000, there's a huge difference, right? So you want to make sure that you own this and that you yourself can go and take care of it. Okay, that's the best way to stay on point and informed. Next, please. So when you graduate, when does the repayment start? 6 months and 60 days after you graduate, because you have done exit loan counseling. Excuse me. So the Department of Education knows that you have graduated, you have separated. So 6 months and 60 days is the grace period. Okay. Let's say though that those 6 months and you still haven't secured a job. Okay. You will call your lender. In that website, the national database, you will find out who your lender is. They're going to be your best friends after you graduate. So you will know who they are, know where to find them, know how to locate them via email, phone call, whatever. You're going to call that lender or that servicer, your loans, they service your loans. They're watching out for you and the loan, and say, you know what, loan servicer, I haven't been able to secure a job and I'm due to start paying these loans in 2 months. What do I do? They're going to say, no problem. We will put those loans in forbearance for you for a full year. You may have to pay a little bit of interest, but you may not, depending on your income. If you can't find a job, it'll probably be very little or nothing. So they will work with you. The key here is never, ever default on your student loans. If that happens, that's another conversation we're going to have later. There's a way out of this too, but please try not to do that. The government will bend over backwards to work with you so that you never default on your loans, because it ruins your credit. It's just a bad scene. But if something like that happens again, we'll discuss and how to, work with that. So if you have any questions or anything you need to discuss, contact your lender. It's important. It's like knowing who your mortgage owner is, the bank where you pay your mortgage, or who you pay your rent to. You got to know that. This is exactly the same thing. Okay. You rented some money for 4 or 5, 6 years. Now you got to pay back. That's what it's like. And then you pay back with a little bit of interest. The interest is not bad, 3.2, 3.42. It depends. Right now, all interest on both loans, subsidized and unsubsidized, is at a pause until January. Okay, so we're doing good there. And of course, you have to complete exit counseling after you drop below halftime, or you're done with everything. Okay. Next, please. Here's a good question. Should I consolidate my loans? Maybe yes, maybe no. I would recommend strongly you do not consolidate while you're in school or even after you go, you graduate. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm going to tell you why. When you consolidate your loans, okay, of course, there's that wonderful website. You can go to that website and it tells you everything you need to know about consolidation. You should be informed before you do that. You will learn about what your monthly payment will be, the best payment plan for you. Excuse me. The time it will take to repay your loans, the types of loans that are eligible for consolidation. Private loans are never, ever eligible to be consolidated, ever. Excuse me. How the interest accumulates and how that impacts the consolidation. So be cautious. Walk carefully around this consolidation floor, okay? Because it's not usually what it sounds like or looks like. So be careful, okay? When you consolidate your loans, the payments may be comfortable, but it's going to take a longer time to pay those babies. So, but again, please check out the website and read about it if that's what you want to do. Do not make any decisions before you're fully informed. You could always call our office and we'll talk to you about this. Just be careful, be cautious, okay? But it's there for you to learn and to read the website. Next, please. All right, so the process of loan consolidation. Okay, if you have loans, okay, with different lenders, they'll give you one loan payment, which is great. Okay, that's fabulous. One monthly bill. It could also lower, like I said, your monthly payments by giving you a long period of time, up to 30 years to repay your loans. So if you have a loan for $10,000, that loan, when you pay it, will be about $35,000 or more with the interest. It's not a bargain. And if you consolidate your loan, other than direct loans, consolidation may give you an access to additional loan-driven repayment plan options for your public loan forgiveness plan. You know, public loan forgiveness is when you work for a nonprofit for 15, you know, you have to be there a long time, like 5 to 15 years, 5 to 10 years. And then you ask HR in your job to complete the forms to verify that you have worked these years. And then the government starts chopping down those loans, but you still have to make like 10 years of payment, and then they will forgive the loan altogether. And it works. Okay. Next, please. Because consolidation usually increases, again, the period of time you have to repay your loans, you will make more payments, and hence you will pay more towards that loan. Also, any outstanding interest on the loans that you consolidate becomes part of the original principal, which inflates the number, the amount of the loan. So they will accrue higher for higher principal balance than if you have, you know, pay the loans one by one and not consolidated. Also, you may lose certain borrower benefits, but those change yearly. So it's important that you go to that website and take a look. Interest rates, discounts, principal rebates, some loan consolidation benefits that are associated with your current loans, those may go away if you consolidate. So please, please be informed. You guys can read really well. Eric, I'm sure you can read better than me. Read it, own it, and then you don't have to have anybody give you their story. Okay? So before you start thinking, I'm going to consolidate my loans, be careful. Read and make, you know, compare the cons of the loan consolidation. Next, please. So remember I said, if you graduate, you can't find a job, the servicer may recommend that you put that the loans be put in forbearance to avoid any defaults. Okay. This is a period, it's temporary, in which your monthly loan payments are temporarily suspended or reduced. There's a wonderful website. That website has all the tools to help you learn more information regarding how to apply the loan forbearance, the interest capitalization, find the plan that is best for you. For instance, temporarily reducing or eliminating your payments. That's where you want to go with this if you can't find a job that, you know, will cover the payments of a loan. Again, it's important that you contact your servicer. They'll do anything to avoid any defaults, because when the servicers are in contract with the Department of Education, okay? So when they don't do a good job, the Department of Education is very unhappy. They don't want that. They get audited and it's nasty. They do not want that. So they will work with you and are very kind, and they're very knowledgeable. So again, there's the website, but if you read stuff and you still have your doubt, contact your servicer at any time. You don't have to be graduate at any time. That's why they're there. You know, these servicers, they love it because we do their job, but they get paid the money. We do their job. Call Financial. Of course, I'll tell you all about forbearance. Instead of telling you, call your servicer. That's the best way to do this. And remember, you're paying their salaries just like you're paying mine. So do not hesitate to call them. They're very good, and they'll give you, if when in doubt, leave it out. They'll ask someone else and come back to you and tell you what the answer is. They're not going to drop you, you know, like a hot potato. Oh, I'm not touching that. That doesn't work. Next, please. So here we go. Pros and cons of forbearance. Pros, better than garnishment or default. Oh, Lord, you know, you never want to have the government garnish your pay for a loan because you're not paying the loan or a default. That is nasty business. Lower interest than payday or personal loans, which people are doing now more than ever. Allows breathing room for you to pay critical expenses like medical expenses, your food, your mortgage, your rent, and it has no impact on your credit score. The cons, not a long-term solution. However, I have seen students who have gotten forbearance 3 and 4 times because they still can't find jobs. Okay, so you need it more than once, contact your servicer. Capitalization of accrued interest is expensive. The longer you wait to pay the loans, the more capitalized interest you will have. And repeated renewal could result in loan default. We have to be careful with that. Missing payments will hurt your credit if you do forbearance and have to pay at least the interest. So be careful. Anytime you're dealing with financial aid and loans, you have to be very careful how you move the pieces on the chessboard, okay? Next, please. We have to consider certain things. Forbearance is temporary. It's just giving you breathing room to allow you to pay essential expenses such as housing and utilities, like I said, or emergencies. It can be costly if you try to use this as a long-term solution. It's like borrowing one of those loans that you see in some cities, quick money. It's okay to do that once or twice if you have an emergency, but every single week, no, that's not good. The interest rate is ridiculous. And if you do too many forbearance, they meaning the Department of Education, the service denies them, then you can go in default or worse. And of course, it'll destroy your credit score. Forbearance is noted on your credit reports, by the way, but it doesn't hurt your credit score unless you have late or missed payments if you're paying the interest. And some of these forbearances, you do not pay interest. So to do this right and avoid all these complications or heartaches or unnecessary expenses during and following forbearance, keep making payments while your application is being processed. Yeah, don't stop making payments. You keep moving forward, okay? If you can. Some of us sometimes can't, and it's okay. You'll work it out with the servicer. You're good. Let them know. Look, the worst thing a student can do is to hide when things occur. Bad things happen. Just call them up. Remember, they're working for you. You already paid their salary ahead of time. So say, hey, you're still my servicer. I've got this issue. I can't pay. Help me. What do I do? But don't hide, because believe me, the government will find us anywhere we go. They used to wait for students at the airport because students would move out of the country to avoid paying their loans. They would be right there. The Department of Education would have, we used to get FBI agents in the financial aid office all the time looking for students. And then the government stopped that because that was ridiculous. They have other ways now with social media on how to find these people. You can run, but you cannot hide. It's best to put it on the table and say, this is what I have. You're not going to go to jail. They're not going to destroy your credit. They're not going to do anything. If you tell them the truth, they will help you. There are some programs where you're only making $5 a month payments. So, it's not like they want, like some of the payment plans at Wayne is like, okay, I owe $12,000. You're going to divide that among 4 months? Are you kidding me? I can't pay that. So the government is a little different. Okay, they can afford to do things a little differently because they're dealing with somebody else's money, and that is so much fun. It's our tax dollars. So they can afford to say, wait a minute, you don't have to do this. You can do this with your money, but it's okay. As long as they sanction it and we're good, we're okay. I'm just cautioning you, please never allow your loans to go into default. It's ugly. Next, please. Here's the bottom line. Forbearance is almost always the last resort, not the first option. Contact your servicer. Use it as a temporary relief, okay? If you don't qualify for deferment. The best thing is to defer those loans. They will be in deferment until 6 months after you graduate, until the end of that. But we want to continue to do either making payments or, just doing what we need to do. If you have a long-term problem that's going to bear more problems, consider the income-driven repayment plan. Because if your income goes down, they put you in forbearance automatically. If your income goes up, you may have to pay a little bit more, but it's okay because your income is going up. And if you can, while you're in forbearance, pay the interest, even if it's $20 a month. If you can, some of us sometimes can't. But if you are beginning to feel that there's going to be trouble in the horizon, again, talk to your loan servicer to explore all repayment options. They have a bag full of tricks that we may not know about, and they won't share that with us. Okay, next, please. How about loan forgiveness? That's my favorite. The term student loan forgiveness refers to the release of having to repay part or all of your, it's really part of your loan. Now, this is what, well, let me finish this first, my thought here, and then I'm going to tell you about the debt relief plan that the administration, the President of the United States, has shared with everybody. Forgiveness is available for different types of loans, including direct and Perkins loans. A Perkins loan was a 5% loan. It was a wonderful loan, and they did away with it. But if you have one of those, it can still be forgiven under the direct loan forgiveness plan. There are many different types of loan forgiveness: public loan forgiveness, teach loan forgiveness for teachers, etc. So if you want your loans forgiven, you have to apply. And you may, of course, you're going to make payments until the application is approved. You just don't stop making payments on it. Okay, but it's a wonderful program. Now, this is going to bring me to the student debt release plan. If you want to read more about it, I'm going to right now put this on the chat. Please write down this website. Okay, let me just give me 1 second. I want to make sure I get this right. Okay. No, I got to studentaid.gov, debt relief. Okay, here goes. All right. Click on that website when you can, when you have time. Read about this. Okay. It has the final extension of the student loan repayment pause. Okay, which is really important. It's pausing the interest rates. Okay. It also has the providing targeted debt relief to low and middle income families. You know, they're saying if you have a zero expected family contribution via the FAFSA or low income, they'll pay $20,000 of your current loans, $10,000 if your income is high, up to, I think it's $145,000 a year. If you make that or more, then there's another story to that. But please read about this. They have a Q&A. It's a really nice link that gives you a lot of information. Okay, then there are other websites that I want you to have. I'm going to have a slide made out for these, but I just found these recently with the big hoopla about the student loans. Subscriptions. Okay. Ed www.gov/subscriptions. That is a good website also. You can subscribe to all this stuff in there and it gives you wonderful information. And then the final one is debt relief announcement on time cancellation. Here's the other one. So please take the time and take a look at these links. Okay. And if you have any questions about that, I would ask your servicer. Do not call the Student Service Center for this because they have no clue. I read a lot about this because it behooves me to know this stuff, but not everybody does that. You can email me. I'm going to put my personal email here. Okay. And I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have about this. At the moment, we don't have a lot of guidance from the Department of Education because supposedly President Biden did this on an executive order rather than a congressional, order. So I don't know what the government is going to do, but we will get guidance when they decide what's going to happen with this. Right now, the announcement was made, but there are no plans. It's like announcing, I'm going to have a baby, but I'm not pregnant and I don't know when this is going to happen. This is exactly the way it is. We don't know. Okay. So we don't know, but it's important for you to know what we know right now. Okay. It's really important. You could always call your servicer. Hey, you guys, what about this announcement that the administration made? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Okay. So own it. Get really smart and make believe this is a class. While you're in school and you're receiving financial aid, make believe this is a class. And when you graduate and you get your diploma, that's your A. Okay. So learn a lot about this. Next, please. Student loan forgiveness releases a borrower from their obligation to repay part or all their student aid. Remember, that's what I said. They reduce the loan in increments. Actually, this is a better deal in a way than this debt relief payment plan. When they announced this, I called the Department of Education. I said, now tell me something. Once the students are forgiven the 10 or the 20,000, can they go back and borrow them? Oh, well, of course. I said, well, then what's the point of this? If I owe 30,000 and you're going to pay 20 and I'm going to go back and pay, what's the point of this? It's a one-time forgiveness plan. That's it. So I'm not happy with that. I think they should tell the students you cannot borrow anymore that amount of money. That's it. You can't, because we're trying to help you. Most of the people who are going to get the money have already graduated anyway. So don't go back and get a master's degree or borrow. Or the ones who are in school yet, be careful, because if the government is paying this, which is your tax dollars, don't borrow that much anymore. Borrow 5 instead of 10 or 15 or 20. Okay. So on that website, you can read all about it. Only federal loans. Well, okay, the difference between loan forgiveness, cancellation, and discharge is explained at this website. Different types of loan forgiveness programs. There's so many, read about it. Requirements to qualify, they depend. They depend on the loan that you have, okay? And occupation. Let me tell you, if you are going to work for a nonprofit, you're golden. You work at Wayne State, you're golden. You work as a social worker, nonprofit, you're golden. You work for a private company like, I don't know, Mercedes-Benz, forget it, because the government knows you're making a ton of money. So those don't qualify. They're trying to help people who truly need the help. Okay. So is it fair? Nah, probably not. But government has never been known for its fairness because they're the government. They're not supposed to be fair. Okay, so they're trying to help, but it doesn't cover all the bases that we would like, but we're grateful. So next, please. Important notes about loan forgiveness. Only federal loans can qualify, as I've said to you before, not loans, alternative loans. See, this is the problem with an alternative loan. They can't be forgiven. The only way a bank will forgive this loan is if you're deathly ill and you cannot work. And then you have to have a ton of documentation. And credit unions usually do not forgive any student loans. They'll tell you pay $20 a month, but they will not forgive it. Forget it. And you have to be working in public service, nonprofits. Okay, so. And usually you're in the income contingent plan when you do exit loan counseling. That's the payment repayment plan you want right there. And the federal loans may also be discharged under circumstances beyond the borrower's control, like I said, such as disability or the closing of the school. Now, you remember what was the name of that school, Amber? It was a proprietary school. Oh my goodness, I can't remember it. It was owned by somebody. I can't remember it.
ITT Tech?
ITT Tech. When they went under, all of those loans were forgiven for those students because the school made promises that they could not keep. So they were calling because they transferred to Wayne and we admitted some with a few credits, but we admitted them. And they knew their stuff. They were smart students and they were beside themselves. And we told them, I'm sure, we didn't even know, but we told them, I'm sure the government is going to forgive those loans because you have nothing to say, look, I got a degree from where? It's done. So that's one way that they'll forgive the loans. Disability, believe it or not, during the pandemic, this was amazing to us. We didn't even know, we didn't get any guidance on this. They were putting student loans into a discharge automatically. The students didn't even know. All their loans were discharged through disability, except for one, which is great. But when they came back and were back, those students want more loan money. So they fill out 2 forms that the government requires, send them to our office, and they can reborrow. But all the loans prior to that were all forgiven. And we wish the government had told us, but they didn't. It was a hush-hush thing. What the heck? Let us know so that we can give the students good news, So that is happening right now. But if you have a student who has diabetes, like he's deathly ill, he has a high debt load, all of his loans will be forgiven except for one from a credit union. The private loans, the alternative loans, and his federal loans will all be forgiven because he can't work. And it's sad, and but he can work, but at least he doesn't have that debt. So next, please. We're running out of time here. Oh, good. Key takeaways. Both Pell Grant and federal loans have limits. Pell Grant has 6 years of limit. The loans are $57,500 if you're an undergrad, $138,500 if you're a grad student. Loan information can be confusing. Ask questions when you need to. And please, please, please call your servicer. Okay? Call your servicer with any questions you may have. Remember that. Next, please. All right. We're at the end of this journey. Any questions you may have? Do we have time, Amber, for Eric to ask anything? Eric?
Sure. So taking a look at my FAFSA for the 2022-23 year, just looking at some information, it says I am not eligible for a Pell Grant, for when I'm returning in wintertime. It says that my expected family contribution is 7,564. I'm not too sure where exactly that number completely came from. I know that I need to do a correction because I'm currently on Medicaid, but I had no issue receiving Pell in the past.
All right. The reason why I'm going to answer your questions is because we're alone here. If we had other students, I would not be able to answer, but now we're good. Is that good?
Here, wait, hold
Amber?
on, let me stop recording here.
Yeah, because this is private. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, real quick, I want to do my
And I'm sorry I took so
Oh,
long.
No, not at all. All very
I'm
good
sorry.
information. And I'll do this really quick. Okay. So this looks like our 4th Tuesday Talk event of the semester. So next week we have another one on career services with James, our career coach. But don't worry, we'll see Daisy again next month. We're going to be talking about scholarships for adult learners. And then in November, again, for SAP and financial aid appeals, all riveting information that's super important for our population. So be sure to stop by for some of these and also follow us on social media for more reminders, updates, fun stuff going on there. Oops, I'm going backwards instead of forwards here. So the next step is to reach out if you have any questions. This is Daisy's contact information as well as my contact information. I also provide information for our partner offices. So Terrell was in here earlier. He works with our justice impacted students. So if you identify as such, please reach out to Terrell. Doug Peacock is our transfer advisor extraordinaire. So if you have questions about transfer credit, what that looks like, if that could be advantageous for you, I suggest connecting with Doug. And if you identify as military affiliated, we actually have somebody in that position now, Jaime. But you can reach out here and get some support on that front. So that's all I have for tonight. I know we went a little bit over, but I want to thank everyone for being here, for sharing some questions. And I'm looking forward to, I'll stick around a little bit afterwards too. So if anyone has any questions, otherwise feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.